Techland are the developers behind the Dying Light franchise, and they have come out with an announcement for a new entry known as Dying Light the Beast. This is not a new DLC to Dying Light 2 for those people that were confused about this announcement, but rather a completely standalone game that you will be able to purchase on Steam and play entirely. This was a surprise to me because it was revealed at Gamescom just the other day, and it sparked a lot of mixed feedback from the community, both positive and negative. And I thought we could directly go over the things you want to know about this new game, and then move on to a more spicy topic to talk about the concerns that I have for this new entry in regards to the previous games in the franchise. Techland has stated that Dying Light the Beast will offer a new setting, introducing fresh gameplay features and deliver a new storyline with approximately 18 hours of gameplay. From the trailer shown at Gamescom, it looks like the game will feature a new storyline centered around the beloved protagonist Cal Crane, whom we all remember so well from the original game. Now, to be honest with you, I'm not the biggest story kind of guy, but I can still appreciate when a good story is being told, and there are rumors suggesting that Cal Crane is coming for this new game for revenge, after the people used him for experiments. So there is going to be a shift in terms of the timeline here. I really love this idea, as I believe Dying Light 1 just provided a much better experience when it came to the storytelling and the character progression. Not to say that Aiden wasn't a good main protagonist, but I do think choosing Cal Crane over Aiden for this new game is the best decision moving forward. I also just think that the characters from Dying Light 1 were more memorable and gave a better impression overall. The things that I truly love about the Dying Light games is the gameplay experience of killing zombies, feeling the intense and horrifying presence of volatiles in the dark, and jumping on rooftops to do some parkour. These things have always been the most impressive to me when it comes to the Dying Light franchise. Now, I could go on for hours to make predictions and speculate on how Dying Light the Beast is going to be played. I could be as naive and positive as possible and say, you know what? We are going to get a new skill tree with new combat animations, a better parkour and gameplay experience, a new and rich storyline with a nostalgic and beloved protagonist, and in their own words, be able to play a completely new standalone game. Or I could be as realistic as possible and raise my concerns for how I truly believe that Dying Light the Beast is going to fail to meet the expectations most people are going to have. And this is the spicy topic that I really wanted to get into with this video. You see, after Techland released the sequel back in 2022, many players were left disappointed about how the game turned out to be. There were so many expectations created for Dying Light 2, such as having more profound impact on the options of the storytelling, promising a much better, iterated and refined gameplay experience of killing zombies, the ambience and the terrifying presence of the volatiles in the dark, you know, all those good things that we remember from the original game, but with much more innovations and greater improvements. While I do think Dying Light 2 still improved as an overall product, it still fell short in many different ways. When the game first released, it had too many bugs and performance issues that already gave it a bad first impression. Then as you kept playing the game, it just didn't deliver that horrifying presence of being in the dark for the first time. It just failed to capture that gritty and dark vibe that the original game executed so well. This includes the ambience, the lighting, the ragdoll physics, the fact that there isn't a dynamic day and night cycle, and that volatiles and zombies just spawns out of nowhere. Don't get me wrong guys, Dying Light 2 is still a good game for what it is, and it was never really considered a failure in my opinion, but much more of a bigger disappointment. And I think it's because they spent so much money on marketing and making empty promises for a sequel of a game that took them over 7 years to develop. Techland has continued to make improvements to Dying Light 2, not just in terms of the base game, but also releasing a couple of random events and a first story DLC called Bloody Ties. Ever since this DLC was released, people have been starving for something new. This was talked back and forth between Techland and the community, and they kept making promises and assuring that a second DLC was going to be released as well. It took way longer than expected to receive any information about DLC 2, and it turns out that after the announcement at Gamescom, Techland stated on their website that they no longer have any plans to make more DLCs for Dying Light 2. Instead, this new standalone game called Dying Light the Beast was supposed to be the DLC 2 that developers at Techland was working on, and that according to their own statement, they decided to expand the scope of DLC 2 and develop it into its own game. So you can already imagine the frustration among the players in the community, because so many people were hoping that they were going to see more of Dying Light 2, that they were going to see more of Aiden Caldwell. It really didn't have the best start start or performance to the year when it first released, nor do I think that they did their absolute best to recover from that. I say this because some of the updates so far has been questionable, such as introducing monetization practices that allow you to pay for advantages directly in their in-game store. This was a dirty shot from Techland, and the community did not respond well to this at all. Besides releasing their first story DLC, Bloody Ties, they also released a couple of random events and made collabs with other games. But I honestly could care less about these events, and I was hoping to see more support and content to the base game of Dying Light 2. Given the history of how Dying Light 2 has been managed so far, it gives me every single reason to be concerned for this new entry. You see, when a developer releases a DLC to an existing game, we could then obviously assume that players will expect additional content, like maybe a new map, storyline, current or new characters, maybe new zombie types, and so on, while keeping the core gameplay and mechanics intact. However, when that content is instead packaged as a completely new game available for purchase, don't you guys then realize that the player expectations will shift dramatically? I mean, think about it. I'm no longer just expecting an extended version of Dying Light 2, but instead I am anticipating to play a completely new game. This means better gameplay experiences like improved parkour and combat, enhanced graphics, superior lighting, better in every possible aspect. Because if you're not making significant improvements or innovations for a new entry in the franchise, then what's the point of adding a new entry to the franchise? Why not just play it safe and expand on the current game with more content? And I honestly, genuinely think the reason for this is money. They are trying to capitalize on nostalgia, as we have seen with other recent games. I think Techland is aware that many of the players in their community love the good old Cal Crane from the first game, and how many of us have wanted them to expand on that. They also know for sure how many of us love the experience of playing Dying Light 1 for the first time, in comparison to Dying Light 2. This is also why I believe it could very well end up being a mediocre game, because chances are they haven't really made huge improvements to the gameplay experience, or the graphics, or the ragdoll physics, or whatnot. My prediction is that they have probably just taken the good stuff that exists in Dying Light 2, made very minor improvements to the current system that are put in place, and just slammed a new title. It's obvious that they would be focusing more on creating a new storyline with maybe more zombie types, maybe a few changes in other aspects, but I really doubt it that it's going to be vastly different from the game that we just played. Now, don't get me wrong again, guys, I'm also excited to see Cal Crane back at it in the new game, and I'm looking forward to play the game myself. But I just think we need to be able to talk about these things, because I'm not gonna give you any naive type of bullshit that most players seem to fall for every single time. While I do look forward to cover Dying Light the Beast on this channel, I will have a skeptical mindset moving forward, and I will not pre-order this game. I do hope that I'm wrong about how the game is going to play out though, and that the game will turn out to be better than ever. So yeah, make it what you will with that. But this is one man's take, so why don't you guys let me know what you think of this in the comment section below. Let me know if you would also like me to cover apocalyptic games for those that are new to the channel. So not just zombie games, but also games like the Stalker series or the Metro series. Either way, I love all of this shit and I just want a good gameplay experience. That's about it. Have a good day, folks.